why do we have this problem in the first place?
Well, I think that there is this equation, or we have three variables very interesting to take into consideration. First, we have the availability of natural resources in space and time. Then we have the population growth, and third, we have the economic development. So pretty much all the time, these three aspects are not in balance. So in this case, the north of Mexico is a very clear example. We have the north and central of Mexico. This is a region where we have the more of population and at the national level. This is the richest region regarding the southeast of Mexico. And yet this is a region where the water has been exploited, overexploited, and overexploited again. So we don't take into consideration that the water is no longer available as it used to be before, and still we continue developing that region, and the economic programs development are still based in developing the north, mainly because of the proximity to the United States and to enjoy the benefits of being used a closest neighbor to the United States. So that's a big issue. And the Rio Bravo Basin is not an exception. So it is an area characterized by the high population rate, high population growth.
Yeah, we've been discussing this about this kind of gradient. So we have a very wealthy, more economically developed region, and then the other one that is not as developed. And then really that gradient tells, like, if I can produce something here and I can sell it here, I mean, the revenue is larger. And I think that has been one of the issues. And agriculture that has this, it's been producing, selling to the north. You were also mentioning, Luzma, about planning and programming. So planning in terms of how can we allocate resources. Some of the programs that I don't think hasn't worked that well in there. So what is the reason? What is the reason that we have right now this problem? Can we mention a specific reason? Well, you mentioned some. These gradients, climate change. Are we missing something there?
I think we are missing the time aspect, the time driver. I think that we haven't been able here in Mexico and in many other countries to plan water resource management for the long term. That's a big problem. That here in Mexico, at least, we have a very different water policy every 6 years, which means that now with this new administration that started in 2018, they are just starting to manage water as they want to. So, and that's also one of the reasons behind, or what the people is saying about this problem, this ongoing problem in Chihuahua. They are saying that this is the fault of the current CONAGUAS administration, which is not true, because this problem is the result is resulting for the last previous administrations in Mexico. So it's not that in 2008 we had this problem and we couldn't resolve it, and now we have a big problem in place. No, it's not a problem of the current administration. It is, in fact, this current administration that has to solve it. But that problem, it wasn't originated by this administration, although they have a big responsibility because they are now the people who are in power. But yeah, I think that planning a long term is a big issue. That
it is missing.
It's missing that planning.
And you know, again, just to put it in perspective, so for instance, in many of the states, most of the 20s, 30s, 40s, 1920s, 1930s, 1940s, even later, up to the 60s, we have all these water compacts and agreements between states to divide, and that they have their own issues. So basically, by doing that, sometimes you're actually fragmenting rivers. That's a different topic, but though that kind of long-term planning or long-term agreements have occurred, and they were kind of work it out. And in here, this is something that it hasn't been every time that it comes an administration, a federal administration, it's changed. So that's, how do you see, well, now let me switch gears here a little bit. Well, actually, before going there, in terms of problems, of challenges, we have seen that it is very unfortunate that this problem has become or has been politicized, that we have politicians, and it's not bad that we have politicians, but I do think that politicians picking one of their parties and looking for their own interests or their party interests vis-a-vis the interest of the entire nation or the entire basin. Have you seen also that problematic of politicization, that this has been politicized, unfortunately?
Yeah, and before I answer that question, Sam, I also would like to say that that this current situation here in Mexico is within a worldwide health situation. So it's like a problem within another problem. So it's a very complex situation right now. So that's for one side. For the other side, yeah, we have in Mexico, and this is because of the media effect, the media coverage, that this current situation, the state of Chihuahua, Tamaulipas, the relation between CONAGUA, which is the Water National Authority in Mexico, with the farmers in Chihuahua, has been politicized by the opposition, the political parties of the opposition of the current administration here in Mexico. We all know that the United States is currently ongoing through an election process. It has been happened in November, so just few days after the date of October 24th, right? So the big question, and that maybe we're already seeing some insights of how this situation is going to be managed within the United States, is that this situation here in Mexico, in Chihuahua, is going to be used to modify a perception or a value, just to make more positive or negative impact on what Mexico represents to the United States. I won't go further in that aspect, but it's just to say that how politics can use this situation to make a profit, a politics profit in both sides of the border. And third, I would like also to mention that that even within Mexico and even within the states drained by the Rio Bravo Basin, they are already taking the microphones, going outside. This situation, this relation between Chihuahua and the state of Tamaulipas teaches a very interesting issue, which is related to what is a basin, theoretically speaking. So we have the upstream basin, which is Chihuahua, and we have the downstream basin, which is Tamaulipas. So why Tamaulipas is asking and demanding to Chihuahua deliver water, because we won't have any water. So this is a situation upstream and downstream users. And in the middle, you have the Water National Authority that doesn't know what to do.
And you know, something that I see there in terms of CONAGUA, or the National Water Authority. So trying to secure the resources so it can be delivered and met, but then it wasn't, or I don't think it was a very good manner or way of doing it. So sending the army or sending the National Guard, this is, imagine that you have to, imagine that you bring the National Guard to Hoover Dam or to Glen Canyon, and then all because you want to deliver water to Mexicans. This is exactly the same, but Mexican Guard going into La Boquilla to make sure that you're going to be delivering water to the states. It is at that level.
Yeah, and days after, the Mexican government took another decision, which is very opposite to that. So instead, yes, they have sent the army to the state of Chihuahua, but now they are informing to the Mexican public about what is the 1944 treaty, what are the responsibilities that Mexico has, and why it's so important to provide that water on October 24. So why they didn't start for that, about informing? So in the first case, when they decided to send the military to the state of Chihuahua, that was a very power decision. It was to show this is the federal state who has the power, and that dam, Boquilla Dam, belongs to the nation, which is true. And now they are using most soft measures. We will talk to the people, we will inform to the people, and let's make them understand and comprehend what is going on. So it's just I'm completely agree with the second decision, but the question is why they haven't started.
They didn't start with that one. Yeah, definitely. Why they didn't start with this media? One also to put it in perspective. So think of this. Think of a farmer in Wyoming that someone comes and tells you, you cannot use the water that is in that river or in the reservoir, because that water we're going to deliver it to farmers in Baja California, in Mexico. So think about that. Think that an authority comes, a federal authority comes and tells a Wyoming farmer that. What would it say? It is somehow something similar to going to some of the farmers in Chihuahua, and I'm not justifying them. We talked about it. The water is not theirs, and it's not of the state of Chihuahua. The water is actually of the people of Mexico, of all the people in Mexico. Conagua is the one that actually is the one that is distributed, is the one in charge of all the Mexicans to distribute it and manage it. But the water doesn't belong to the farmers in Chihuahua. It belongs to everyone, every Mexican. So that is interesting. I do wanted to put it in this perspective. The other thing that you were mentioning about politics, super bad that unfortunate that I would mention this, because rather than taking the leadership or looking a little bit ahead and saying like, okay, if we're just going to be arguing about this, it is better to actually start looking for agreements or for ways to build bridges than starting from these positions. Or, well, let me tell the president so we are aware of it, and we're not going to receive water from this source, from this river, the San Juan River. We want to receive it in the reservoirs. Even so, the crops are not going to have any, they will not distinguish if the water came from one river or the reservoir. Water is water. But those kind of attitudes, it also incentivizes people and the media in Mexico to say like, hey, see, those guys in Texas, they are such a bad people, which it is just these politicians try to gain in a year that we know that is an election for Trump, and that people or Trump supporters will get super fired up by having a fight like this.
Yeah, and this current situation is a Mexican situation. It's a problem that has to be solved in-house. So it's a national problem.
Yeah.
And it has, for this national problem, to solve this national problem, the Conagua has to show its leadership in the issue, but also has to call for cooperation for all the parties. So we need an important dose of leadership for the Conagua. We also need an important willingness to cooperate from all the states, and maybe not only the states within the Bravo Basin area, but also from another states that may cooperate with water or with capacities or with natural human capacities or technical advice, something. But this issue requires cooperation from all the parties.
Yeah, and this is unfortunately kind of a civil war. Well, not that we want to see a war, but it is in this people from one state against the other, which it is people from the same country, and even we're people from the same basin. thinking
Yeah,
about basic.
and this situation shows us how crucial is water, because if we don't have water, then our food security is at stake, is at risk. We have water energy at risk also. We have the environment that will suffer, that is already suffering, but will suffer even more. We have all the economic activities that will suffer. So we cannot just say it's not important and let's take the water from Chihuahua and give it to the United States. This requires a more comprehensive solution. And this maybe, I was talking about leadership, cooperation, and this is also is calling for a need to sit with the American representatives to the US authorities to talk about the situation. How can we solve or prevent, I would say better to prevent future situations like this? What are we willing to do in case anything like this will happen again? That's a question that we need to start answering now. Know when the situation comes, because if we don't do it now, if we don't think about how we will do and what will we do in the future if any other situation similar to this happen, we will find ourselves in a pretty much similar situation to this one.
Yeah, and perhaps.
And every time will be more complex and more complex. Why? Because availability of water will be more stressed. We will be more people in the area. The economic needs will be even higher, and the climate change will be more drastically impacted in the region.
Yeah, and not even considering another user provider, which is the environment. Once that one comes into play, it's already stressed out. Hey, so